Hello, my name is Nathan and I'm the Education Coordinator at the Nooksack Salmon Enhancement Association, or NSEA. Thank you for joining us today on your virtual field trip. We are along the Nooksack River in Ferndale Yacht Park. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge that the land that we are standing on is the sacred and traditional land of the Coast Salish people, specifically the Nooksack tribe and Lummi Nation. They are the traditional stewards of this land since time immemorial. As we learn today on this field trip, may we continue to reflect on and understand the importance of this land and work towards continued stewardship of our shared waterways. Today we're going to test how healthy the Nooksack River is for the species of salmon that live here. The Nooksack River is home to all 5 species of Pacific salmon. It is only one of 2 rivers in Washington state that can claim having all 5 species of Pacific salmon. Today, to test how healthy this river is for those salmon species, we're going to become scientists who make observations, perform experiments, ask questions, and draw conclusions. To start, we'll make some observations of the Nooksack River and the surrounding riparian zone. The riparian zone is the area of land that is bordering the Nooksack River. The first observation we're looking for is large woody debris. Large woody debris are trees that have fallen in the water that create pools for migrating salmon and places for juvenile salmon or fry to hide to avoid predators. As I look around here, I see some logs that are in the river and a few trees that have fallen to create some large woody debris. Next, we're going to look at what's at the bottom of the Nooksack River. Salmon dig nests called redds, and they lay their eggs in those nests. They prefer to do that in gravel. And as we look at the bottom of the Nooksack River here, it looks like we have a variety of gravel, which salmon would prefer to build their redds in. Our next observation is looking for moving water. As you'll learn at the water quality station, moving water is important because it can mix in the oxygen that's in the air into the water and help the salmon to be able to breathe easier. We're looking for a current here, and I definitely see a current in the Nooksack River. I see water moving downstream and churning in some of that oxygen. Our next impacts that we'll look and listen for are human impacts, and those are roads, cars, and buildings. As you might imagine, some of these human impacts can be harmful to salmon. Impacts such as oil from cars or litter from buildings can wash into the river and be bad for the salmon that are living there. So we'll take a look around and we can listen for cars and road noise that is close to the Nooksack River. Behind me, you might see that railroad bridge. I also, as I'm listening, I can hear some cars and some roads and what sounds like a lawnmower. We can definitely say that there is evidence of humans in the riparian zone of the Nooksack River. The next observation we're looking for is garbage, which, as I'm sure you can imagine, is bad for salmon. We don't want to see garbage or litter washing into the Nooksack River. And looking around in the river and along the banks in the riparian zone, I don't see any garbage, which is a good sign. The next observation we're looking for is foam. And we're not looking for bubbles that could be caused by a current, but we're looking for what would be soapy foam that's on the surface of the water. This is typically caused by fertilizer and chemicals that are washing into the water. And as I look on the surface of the Nooksack River, I don't see any evidence of foam. Our next observation is erosion. And as you may have learned early, erosion is an example of where soil washes into the water. Looking at the banks of the Nooksack River, especially across from me, I definitely see some evidence of soil that is eroding into the Nooksack River. Next, we're looking for plants. Plants serve many different functions and help to keep the water cold, clean, and clear. They do this by providing shade. They also help to filter out pollutants, and they help to prevent some of that erosion with their roots. So looking around the riparian zone, I definitely see plants, and they are also casting a lot of shade over the Nooksack River, so we can check both of those off. And finally, we'll look and listen for evidence of animals that are in the river or along the riparian zone. We can listen for birds, of which I hear a few in the distance. And looking across the river, I see what looks to be a muskrat or a river otter. It's hard to tell from this distance. Now that we've made some observations, it's time to create a hypothesis. This is your prediction on how healthy you think the Nooksack River is for salmon. Do you think that it is excellent, fair, or poor based on your observations that you noticed today? Take some time to create your hypothesis, and if you can, write it down, because we will revisit this at the end of our virtual field trip today.